All right. Warren and I, we are live. Hello, everybody. Thanks a ton for joining us live. If you're live on the replay, if you're on the replay for an hour-long session all about fully and finally decluttering. Woof! That sounds like my idea of a good time. I know it's Warren's idea of a good time and probably your idea of a good time if you are with us and enjoying us. First of all, I know some of you took a decent chunk out of your day to engage with Warren and I and each other. We're really grateful for the time, for the attention, for the action that you're going to take as a result of watching this. I know Emily, you're with us. Cynthia, there's a few other folks ahead of time who told us that they would be here, that they were excited about it. And regardless, whether you're watching through the Google event page, there's a little Q&A app at the bottom of the video window. And whether you're using the comment on the Google event page itself or the Q&A app, if you're with us live, you can hear me, you can see me, everything is looking and sounding good. Just type a little yes or hey, Joel, or what's up? That will make sure that we don't talk for an hour with you and for you without you actually being able to hear us or see us properly. All right, we'll pause and we'll check that out in a moment. You can also use that Q&A feature to add questions as we go along the way. We can easily review and address some of them. Warren and I are not going to make you wait until the very end. If you've got something pressing, if you want to build upon what we said or interaction with your other participants who are watching this training, please let us make this as real-time and interactive as we can. So first of all, before I get too ahead of myself, I am Joel Zaslofsky. I am the host of this fun training, and I'm a guy who's behind a number of things. JoelZaslofsky.com is one of them, for those of you who are not familiar with me. I also do some simple living community building stuff over at simplerev.com, and I'm just generally a pretty funky, happy dude hanging out here just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I would like to turn it over to my partner in this training for a moment, Warren, who is literally coming to us from a cave in Spain. Warren, say hello.
Hello, Joel. It's so great to be here. I have to tell you, when I figured out that the timing was going to work, that I was going to be in a cave for a week and we were going to be talking, I was so excited, because where else would you want to do a decluttering conversation than from a cave? This is what's possible if you declutter your life.
Okay, so we will all aspire to be live on the internet on video in a cave within the next 6 months, 12 months. What's reasonable? How much work are we going to need to do to get to your point?
I think you can do it depending on your goals and what you set. But the biggest challenge that I see is that people want to declutter. They have a desire to declutter, but they don't know where to start. And so for those of you who don't know me, my wife and I, in 2008, made the decision that our life was not quite fulfilling enough, but we wanted to do something different. We had some big changes going in our lives. We had some very serious health issues with people close to us. And we made the decision that, before our 40th birthday, we're going to start following our dream and travel around the world. And so over the course of the 2 years, we sold everything we owned, put on 2 backpacks and took off and traveled. And that changed our lives. It wasn't just the idea of going and traveling and exploring, but once we started getting rid of things, we started removing those things that were holding us back, we realized that we were dramatically changing who we were. We were dramatically opening up opportunities and possibilities. And it set us on a path now, almost 6 years later, to where we're starting to really think about, and trying to help others to go on a similar path. And the first place that begins is in removing those physical items that we want, that are surrounding us, that are holding us back, or creating feelings of overwhelm. So anyway, that's me. And my wife and I are at anunclutteredlife.com, for those of you who don't know. But I'm just so excited. You can tell. Anytime I get to talk about clutter, I get excited.
Yeah, I can tell that you are not needing any kind of artificial animation or supplements to get your juices flowing here. Me too. Me too. It's always a treat to be talking to you. And if people are like, who are these 2 goofballs? They're kind of funny, but maybe not ha-ha funny. We might get ha-ha funny. And our goals here, one, we want to make sure that this is a great use of your time. So we have plenty of valuable stuff to talk to you about it. And 2, we can give you a little entertainment value on the side. Then, it's a little benefit.
A little bit.
So before, Warren is the star here, and he's going to be taking over for a minute. But in case you're curious what's happening over the next roughly 55 minutes, the first thing that we want to do is we want to help you understand why decluttering frustrates the bejesus out of us and how to jumpstart your plan. We're going to hit that right away. Then we're going to talk a bit about the importance of small steps over big leaps in accomplishing your clutter busting goals. This next part is specific to Warren and Betsy and unclutteredlife.com. What uncluttering is, why it extends beyond clutter, and how embracing it gives you all kinds of nifty freedom. And of course, why we're probably here, why we are gathered here right now, the 5-step plan to fully declutter your home. After all that good stuff, we're going to field as many questions as we can. We will sprinkle your questions or comments in as we go along, and we're going to be prompting you along the way to not just engage with us, to engage with other participants, whether it's in YouTube comments or in the Google event page, wherever you want to do. You can also, if you're on the Twitter, you can tweet me. I'm Joel Zaslofsky, and Warren is at Warren Talbot, Talbot. And one more reminder, our primary method of seeing what's on your mind, what you want us to cover, what we skipped over, you want more nuance or context on, use the Google Hangouts on Air Q&A feature to ask a question for us to cover during our time together. All right, Warren, so why does decluttering frustrate the bejesus out of us?
Well, I want to make, there are five assumptions that I'm going to make as I go into this. And these are, the first one is that you want to remove clutter. Most people do not come and watch a seminar and a conversation and a training on decluttering out of pure joy of no matter how entertaining we might be. Joel, I love you, you know this, but at the same time, people just don't do that. You have a desire to declutter, but you don't know where to start. Over the course of the last 5 years, we've helped about 100,000 people declutter their homes through our books and our courses and our resources and just talking to people directly. And what we found is there are 3 reasons that people struggle with decluttering. The first, or number 3, is they don't know how to get rid of things. Number 2 is all those sentimental items, those things that grandma gave you, or maybe you were given by your 3rd grade boyfriend and you can't let go of it. But the number one reason that people struggle with decluttering is they just don't know where to start. That is so challenging. And that's what we're going to cover today, is that issue of where to start. But the third assumption that I'm making today is that you want a solution. Like, you don't want to continue struggling. You don't want to continue wanting to declutter and not being able to do it. But I'm going to admit something, and it's a sad thing for me to admit, but I'm assuming that decluttering does not make you as happy and as excited as it does me. I've only met a few people like me who are really get excited about decluttering, who have actually gone into other people's homes and volunteered to declutter their houses. It's probably not you. As such, this is not your full-time job. You've got real things going on and you're trying to figure out how to get a solution that works for you. But the real big challenge of clutter is that it holds us back from doing what we want. The idea of doing it makes us shudder and scares us, but we have big dreams. We have big goals. We want to make more space for that home office. Maybe we have a new addition coming into the family. Maybe we have a desire to do something big. These are the things that are holding us back. This is what we want to do. So by taking and understanding these assumptions, I want to give you a plan that you can use this week to start decluttering your house. And this is not just, pick up something and see if it makes you feel good or not. This is a practical step that you can go through to get rid of the stuff in your house so you can finally start making some progress towards a big goal. Because when we think about decluttering, it's not just about the idea of removing it. What we want something bigger. I mean, Joel, if you've ever, I know decluttering is not your thing. You don't wake up in the morning thinking about decluttering like I do. But you have had to declutter before, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know most of what your decluttering and uncluttering theories are and practical steps are based on the physical side of life. For me, right. It's mostly emotionally and mentally. This is where I need to be doing the most decluttering. And I know a lot of people start with the physical items and then they allow that to flow into their spiritual life or their emotional
Right.
life or their relationships. So yeah, I'm very interested in streamlining, which is a synonym, or there are a number of other things that are there. And actually, while we're on that topic, everybody needs to have a good why. Everyone needs to have a good emotional trigger before we get into some of the nuts and bolts, like how do I do this? If people are watching us, then they're interested. And hopefully they're ready. They're ready to take action. And that's why we're here. We're here to help people actually do things, not just think about it, not just feel good about a false first step of making progress without actually doing it. So Warren, can you give us an example or two of common, powerful emotional triggers so that people can set this intention, this good anchor towards moving forward with decluttering?
Yeah, this is a great question, because there's so many different things about why we declutter, and asking that question first will make sure that you start a decluttering project and don't get bogged down into the weeds, because this can be challenging. Keeping your eye on that why. The emotional, a lot of times we need motivation outside of ourselves. Maybe we want the room for something. We're going to use that space for something. We want to be able to start a business, but we need a place to do it. These are a little bit easier to be able to tag on to. And frankly, I've seen those be the biggest, most powerful motivators to get us going. Saying I want to declutter because I feel like it is more difficult, because that wears thin pretty quickly. But now on the flip side, and I don't like, this is typically where people start, is they feel overwhelmed or stuck because of their clutter. We try to break them out of that and help them to understand, help people to understand that it's about thinking about what you want, not about what you want to run away from. Because when you think about that, it's harder to say, at what moment am I no longer overwhelmed? I don't know. Now? Maybe now? I don't know. So instead, what we do is that the emotional is much more tied to a goal that we want to achieve in the decluttering project. And with this in mind, because there's so many different ways that you can think about how to declutter, and why you want to declutter. What we've done is we've created a plan. Since you said this is action oriented, I do want to talk about the download. You guys got it in the hour replay that was there, but I'll be sending it back out when we send the replay email. I'm stepping over myself here. What we'll do in that process is that you'll get a guide that will walk you step by step through everything I'm going to talk about today. So everything I talk about today will be in there. Now, one element that is not, that you just touched on, is the why. Before you sit down to do that, is asking yourself, what do I want to achieve by doing this? What are my goals? Setting down just 20 minutes to define that, versus I want to declutter because, think of what's going to keep you motivated in a month. Because it may take you a month or 2 months or 3 months to fully reach your goal, but find out what that goal is and why you want to do it. Do that before you ever take this step. And I think that will help you be motivated and stay excited and keep doing it each and every day to reach your goal. It's like anything, you want to run that race because you have this internal trigger and you never thought you could. So you set that as your goal to run a half marathon, but you have to, it takes a lot of work and energy to do that. So think of it in the same way. So the worksheet is going to help you. It's going to be there for you.
I just want to be clear. When you say we, sometimes you're talking about me and you, as in the two people who are talking here. But other times when you say we, you're talking about you and your wife, Betsy, who are doing all the cool stuff at An Uncluttered Life, and who run Declutter Clinic, where you help people. I mean, if you need help with defining the why and get some accountability and some support, that's a great place for it. I know we're not here to talk about that, but I just want to make sure that as you and me, keep talking about different things, that people understand the different we's who are involved as we're chatting.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a royal. So I've always tried to apply the royal we just to me. We are happy to be here. And so you're right. Yeah,
we certainly are.
Now you've identified one of my flaws. Yeah. One of my, which one is it? I don't know. But I want to talk about, because decluttering is such a big project, and this is one of the struggles that I think we think that it's one thing. Like we're going to declutter our home. Well, it's not really. What we're doing is we've got a lot of components within our home. Unless you live in one room, the issue is that you've got all different elements that you want to. And frankly, even within a room, you've got a dresser. You probably have some other drawers. You may have a closet. You may have some cabinets where you've got kitchen utensils. Each one of those components is a place that needs to be decluttered. So there's a study, and this was done initially way back, 1981. There was a study done of these two scientists, and they took these kids and they broke them up into two groups. And they basically told them, the first group, okay, you need to write a 42-page document in a week. Go. And the other ones were told, you need to write 6 pages on this assignment every day for 7 days. What they discovered is that inevitably, in every single category, the kids who actually were given the broken down goal were more successful. They were more correct, they were more energized, they were more motivated, they were more focused, and more of them completed the work. This has been done hundreds of times, and they've replicated the same study with all kinds of different groups of people, because what we do as humans, we work better when we break down big, giant goals into smaller projects. The reason I bring this up is not because I love science, though I do. But the issue is I want to bring it up because I want to explain that decluttering, first and foremost, is a project that can be broken down into small, bite-sized components that you can achieve on a regular basis. And it is this component that is the foundation of success in decluttering your home. Breaking down and not just saying, I'm going to declutter my house. I'm going to take each room, each area, each component of my home, and I'm going to remove the clutter, the physical components that are standing in the way of the life that I want to live. So that's what we're going to do here today, is we're going to go through, and I'm going to walk you through the 5-step plan that is going to get you to this place. So
Before
what we found...
Before we do, Warren, can I just get a quick example of somebody who's gone through your Declutter Clinic, or a friend of yours who you've talked to, in terms of how they identified where to start, and that small step, like just building a teeny little bit of momentum, and then you realize, oh, okay, I still got a lot more to go, but I can do this. I can do this. Do you have a quick little story that you could share?
Sure. I think Kim is probably one of the most difficult examples, because all of us can relate. All of us have reached, me, I'm 45 years old. So my mom is, 70. So we're reaching that point where my mom, we're starting to have these conversations about, what happens when she's gone, right? Well, those are good conversations to have. And I know you and I have spoken about it in the past, but our friend Kim didn't have that conversation. Her dad passed away, and suddenly she inherited a house filled with his stuff. And she stepped into that room and she wept, and she didn't know where to start. And she contacted us and said, she bought our course and said, I need to get started. What do I do? And what we did is we said, just pack one box, right? Just go into the room that meant the least to him and pack that one box and get it out. And so the idea was, she went into a closet, not his closet, but a closet in the house, probably the hall closet, and just started pulling things out and throwing them into a box. They didn't have any sentimental value. They didn't have any connection really from between her and him. It was an easy place to do it. So she took a picture a week later and said, I feel so much better. My first box I got out, I sent it to the donation, I gave it to some people who took care of it, and I feel like I have a little bit of momentum. Like you said, there's a lot left to do, but I didn't know where to begin, and that was hard. So now she's basically, once she did that, she started going through and saying, okay, this room I need to tackle a little bit later. It's going to be hard. This room, I can do the guest bedroom, and I can do the garage. And so this was a little bit easier. She needed to do that though and start something. And I think that that's so critical. And as we'll talk about in a minute, I'm actually, by the time you leave here today, I'm going to assign your first project. And so everybody here is going to have one first project that you can do to begin your decluttering efforts, because I know how hard that is. Without a plan as you go into it, sorry, Joel, you were going to ask something.
My mouth open, like, oh, I'm going to say something. Yes, thank you. I would love to hear, so that we can celebrate with people who have already done something. I mean, a lot of times, whether it's decluttering or meditating or making your tiny house or getting into permaculture, whatever it is, people, they don't have an opportunity to celebrate how far they've come already, regardless of where they've started. So for people who are with us live, our participants, or even if you're watching the replay and you want to leave a comment on YouTube, we would love to see and celebrate with you. What have you already done? Whether you feel like it's noteworthy or not, just a little something that you've done to get you further down the decluttering road. And maybe you'll even inspire somebody else to think, hey, that seems like a gimme, a pretty easy one. I bet I could knock that out in the next week or so. So please, whether it's in the Q&A app, or whether it's in the comments on the Google event page, or if you want to tweet more on me, we'd love to know where you're coming from when it comes to where you are with decluttering.
That's a good point. Yeah, because and celebrate those successes. I read something in the last 2 weeks and it was talking about we don't celebrate enough, and it affects us so much in our work, in our relationships, and in decluttering. This is a good example. When you get into big projects, celebrate your wins. And so I love that you stopped me there because I think it's important. If any of you have areas where you've decluttered one part of your house, you've decluttered a drawer, whatever it might be, stop, celebrate, give yourself a high five. Don't go buy anything else. Just celebrate. Celebrate with intrinsic things. Just, experience. Yeah.
You know what I do? I do kind of the scene from Rocky, the very first one. Brooke McAllery, our friend over at Slow Your Home, taught me this.
Yep.
When she got done going for a run or working out, she kind of did the jumping up and down and one of these, and like it feels kind of silly, but after I'm done doing something, it's something little, whether it's just a daily ritual or maybe some exercising or decluttering or whatever it is, like just doing a little, if you want to do your happy dance or whatever it is, something physical, you've cleared out something physical, celebrating it in some kind of small physical way seems pretty neat. And I know a lot of other people enjoy that too.
I love that. I like the idea. I feel like I need a whole YouTube channel filled with decluttering happy dances. That's what that would be my goal in life, is to have that.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So where are we going now, Warren? We've talked, we've asked people where they're coming from and where they think they're going, but
many of you probably can relate to this, is that you've started on a big project, like you've wanted to declutter, but you got deep into it and you found that without the plan, you ended up with no direction. You ended up sitting there at the end of a weekend with maybe an empty wine bottle, all you're strewn around you is the contents of a closet, and a box is open with letters from your high school sweetheart, and you accomplished nothing. And the reason being is because you didn't have that goal and that plan walking into it. Not only a plan of how to attack it, but a plan as to how you were going to deal with the emotions that you were going to run into. And that's something we're not going to dive into today, but I want you to be thinking about that before you walk into your decluttering project. Is remember, emotions exist within all those nooks and crannies that you've shoved all of your history items into. As you pull them out into the light, you're going to discover that you're going to hit memory lane and want to stop. A plan is going to help you not get stopped. It's going to help you move forward because you know what you need to do. You know what your goals are. You've broken it down into small components, and you know how to deal with the sentimental items. So that's what a plan can do for you. So I bring all this up because many people just want to dive in and just start decluttering. They want to open the first closet and start removing it, or they want to start with the biggest, most challenging aspects first. And I'm going to caution against that today. As you'll see when we go through the 5 steps, start small. Because like Kim earlier, you have to start building yourself some momentum, teaching yourself some of the fundamentals, making yourself feel good as you go through that. Realize a little of that dopamine hit that you get from celebrating the success. And then you can start to continue to move forward and avoid getting stuck, waking up on Monday morning, wondering why your decluttering project is so hard, and just shoving it all back in the closet and going back on with your life. We want to move beyond that. Joel and I want a success. We'd like to do, matter of fact, we should actually celebrate with happy dances every time we get someone. That should be our video channel now, Joel. We just do a little happy dance. This is mine. Okay. So.
Mine looks surprisingly similar to my little Rocky dance, although I'm going to go off camera because I'm so tall. I might even hit my head on the ceiling. I'm going to save my happy dance. It'll be a special little thing that people will get after they've made a little bit of progress. Maybe an incentive for folks to do their own. And by the way,
I like that. You gamified decluttering. I like it.
Okay, cool. Happy dances.
Yes.
And we've got that squared away. What else do we need to get squared away?
What I want to do now is I want to dive right into the meat of it. So I feel like I've teed it up. I hope we've been able to talk a little bit about why decluttering is important to you, and you've been able to think about it and get into the mindset. But in that guide that we have today, I wrote down and provided you with the 5 steps that we're going to go through today. And I'll just cover them really quickly. If the first is to assess your clutter. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to rank your rooms so you can determine what rooms you should work on first and roughly determine how much work it's going to. I'm going to help you to start building some momentum. And this is where I'm going to assign your very first exercise. I'm going to hold your hand and say, this would be the very first place that I would recommend you starting with your decluttering. Then we're going to go through and I'm going to talk about sprints. And this is something that's really important. It's a different way to think about attacking big projects like decluttering. It's a completely different mentality, and we've been using it successfully for a few years. I'm excited to introduce this to you. And the fifth, and probably the most exciting one, the only one that will actually make a difference, is to take action. So I'm going to tell you how you can do that. We're going to go through that, and we're going to do all of this in the next 20 minutes. All right, you ready, Joel? You excited?
20 minutes? You're doing all that in 20
Yes.
minutes? Heck yeah.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? I would do it in 6 if I thought I could, and people would just jump in and start decluttering. That's how excited I am about it.
Yes, yes.
So the first thing I want to do is I want you to think about every room in your house. Okay. So Joel, I know I'm going to use you as my sample here. All right. So every single room in your house has a different level of physical clutter for you. Right? Some rooms are perfect and you think, yeah, I got it. And some rooms you don't even like to open the door to. There are closets that you may have in your house. Your garage may not be able to park your car in it. Whatever it is, each room in your home, think of it as a distinct component and completely separate. Right? Now, within each one, what I've done is within the workbooks, I've provided you with a way to think about each one of those rooms and to rank them on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being, I can find everything that I need instantly and easily. Now, this is the method. It's not, do I think it's cluttered or not cluttered? It's answered in a very different way. Can I walk into a room and immediately find what I need? Because one person's cluttered room is another person's complete and utter nightmare. But can I find what I need? So this is assessing it based upon your own needs. That goes all the way up to a 5. The 5 of each room is, I need a bulldozer. I've reached a point where I can't even get into the room. And I've been into homes. I actually decluttered I was house sitting for someone in Austin a few years ago. And my wife and I were there, and I contacted the homeowners and I said, look, I know you told me I couldn't go into the garage because you were so embarrassed by it. I said, but would you mind if I went in there and decluttered the entire place? I won't throw anything away, but I'll make a pile of what I recommend selling, what I recommend keeping, and I'll put everything up and make it perfect to where you can park the car inside there for the first time in 5 years. And magically they said yes. But that was a room that needed, it needed a major overhaul. It was stacked to the rafters with boxes. You couldn't get in there. So this is the 1 is perfect, great, and 5. So within every single room in your home, give a different ranking. And again, if you've downloaded the worksheet, you can see how this works. I've got all the different, I've got a sample one in here for you, and I've got a blank one that you can fill out. So you can fill out what your house looks like. Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, the kitchen, the living room, the den, the garage. Don't forget the garage, the basement, and the attic. Those are 3 different rooms. If you have each one, those are places in your home where the clutter can accumulate very, very quickly. So think about them and then rank them. This is step 1. The reason we do this is because we're trying to identify not only where your clutter exists, we're getting you to start thinking about your clutter so you can start imagining what you want to get rid of. And that's so important as we're at this stage in the decluttering process.
Hey, I have a question for you about ranking.
Yeah.
Am I ranking them in terms of how easy they'll be to finish, how much it will mean to me if that room, all of a sudden I open up Grant, my 5-year-old son door, or my 5-year-old son, his bedroom closet, I open that up and I don't have to look down and be like, what the, it's still there. What are some common criteria that I'm using for ranking which rooms I want to get started with or which rooms will mean the most to me?
Sure, absolutely. Well, within there, I've actually written all this out for you, so it's gonna make it really easy for everybody.
Well, okay,
yeah. So it's all there, but the benefit is the first one, it's really much more about how easy it is for me to find things and to, versus it is that how do I feel about it? Because how I feel about it today will be different than tomorrow. But at the end of the day, our stuff is there to either make us happy or sad, or it's there to, we need to find things when we go into a room. What we found over the years is that most people think best if we make it less about the emotions and more about the ability to find things. So I go into my home office. Can I find my bills? Can I find the thing? Because if not, what happens is I go in, I can't find the stapler. I get annoyed. I get frustrated. And that's not fair. That's stuff that's causing emotional reaction. We don't want that anymore. So the longer it takes us to find things, what often happens, I would say about 60% of our students have actually said they went out and bought things that they know they owned because they couldn't find it. So this is one of the big leaders of stress and overwhelm. So we base it solely upon how easy it is for me to find things and how much can I actually use a space. So if I go into a room and I can't use it at all for its intended purpose, then that's not worth it.
So the feelings are important. They're just not the driving force behind everything.
Absolutely. Feelings are always important, but if we're trying to create something a little bit separated, because there's plenty of emotion in decluttering. We're trying to separate a little bit of that out and give you a plan that you can execute against, because we're going to run into the emotional challenges again when we pick up an item and say, oh, remember when Aunt Sally gave me this horrendous figurine? Yeah, I don't know how to get rid of it. Yeah.
Maybe Aunt Sally should have given me a stapler, so I would have always had one if I lost it.
Yeah.
Am I the only one
just
thinking
give
of
me
Milton
cash
from
and I
Office
could have
Space?
bought whatever I wanted. That would have been much better. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of how people are feeling, just real quick, Antonella on YouTube, she left a comment for us. It said, great webinar, and it's got a lot of exclamation points. So she must really mean it. For those of you who are watching live or on YouTube, we also want to know, we're about halfway into this training and we've covered some good ground already. How are you feeling? Are we covering the kinds of things that you were hoping to get out of this? Is there a direction that you would like us to go, or maybe even a comment that you have or a question that you want us to queue up now or towards the end of things? Please, you can use the Q&A app in the Google event to let us know what's on your mind, to add something insightful that your other participants will get at. Remember, this is an interactive thing, not just between me and Warren, but between you as well. So let us know what we can do, because this is for you.
So once you've gone through, it should take you about 20 minutes to go through your house and fill out that first page. So then now what you've got is a very simple, objective. See, I always get objective and subjective wrong. So this is one, it's subjective. Now you've got a subjective ranking that you've created for all of your rooms, right? Yeah. See, I'm going to get this completely wrong, but let's just go with whatever.
If somebody else were doing it, then it might be more objective, because they're not,
you're right. Okay.
They're not feeling your feelings. Humans are inherently subjective. Everything that we experience is through, okay, now I'm going to get into the philosophy of being human. I'll just stop right there. I think subjective is what you mean, Warren.
If any of you ever want us to get in, maybe we should like have an actual phone call where they see what our phone calls are like when we have conversations, and they'll realize just how random they are. Yeah. Anyway, now you have a ranking, an assessment of each of your rooms. The next step is really easy. Now it's just putting them in order from 1 to 5, right? So we want to go through and identify those areas. So the ones are those ones that you feel are pretty good. They're in great shape already. I can find things. I'm in good shape. All right. This is where we want to start, and put the 5s at the bottom. The reason being, okay, there's a whole psychological concept called the goal gradient. And this means that the closer that we get to a goal, the more we're going to work on it. Now, this is a core concept of decluttering that goes against what a lot of people would think. Most people want to tackle the most complicated, most challenging room that they have because they feel like they can see the difference. Problem is, the goal gradient says that the closer we get to the end, the more excited we are about it. So by getting and making some progress along the way, we move closer and closer to that. You can think about it this way. When you get the loyalty card from your local sandwich shop. So you go to there and you get the first stamp, and you're like, God, I got to get 13 more stamps to get a free sandwich? That's ridiculous. Suddenly you get 10 stamps. You start making up excuses to go to the sandwich shop. You start going and buying sandwich for the guy behind you so you can get 2 stamps. This is the same exact concept we're going to use in decluttering to get us motivated. So put the ones at the top and move all the way down and put that on the sheet. So within the worksheet, you'll be able to put that and guide yourself along. So now's the time. I have this beautiful picture of this tiny baby in a drawer. And just so you guys know, that's I can send you guys the presentation if you want to see it. But that's what I'm looking at right now. Because what I want you to do is start and identify your very first decluttering project. That's right. We're going to declutter something in 1 week. Now, all of you can do this. I know you can. You took time out of your day. I want to give you something that will help you. The way you can do this is to declutter 1 drawer. A drawer, think of it as just a really small room in your home. The smallest room that you have, that's what we want to declutter. Because the same principles that you will use to declutter a drawer are the same ones that you'll use to declutter your bathroom, a closet, a bedroom, your garage. It's exactly the same principles. So here we're going to start small. Now, in order to do this, the way you're going to do it is you're just going to take everything out of that drawer and dump it on your bed. This can be your dresser, it can be a drawer in your bathroom, but dump it on your bed. And now what you want to do is to just quickly, in 20 minutes, separate that out into things that you want to sell, things that you want to donate, and things you want to throw away. Now, don't overly think about this too much, but the issue is separate those things out, and then quickly, everything that you're keeping, stick back in the drawer and close it. And that same day, take the things and remove them from your home. Either sell them, trash them, or get them into the donations. Give them to people that can use your stuff. Now, I went through that process very, very quickly. This is an entire 4-week component inside of our Declutter Clinic course. So I know I can't go into it today into the level of depth that it should be, but I did want to bring it up that the process is the same. You want to determine that. We've all seen Clean Sweep. We've seen all the decluttering shows. It's the same process. Determine what you want to keep, what you want to get rid of, what you want to sell. And within those items, you can either sell it or donate it. All right. If I've gone too fast, I've gone pretty fast. You all right, Joel?
No, you're good. In fact, I'm thinking I was going to grab, I've got a drawer over here by my desk, which has 6 rolls of different kinds of tape. I have electrical tape, gaffer's tape, Scotch tape, and a number of them. I am my father's son in that he loves tape, absolutely loves tape. And I'm thinking, do I really need 6 different kinds of tape here? So there's
I think if you have duct, I think that's it. You need duct tape and that's it.
That would probably be good. Gorilla tape is a new one that he's recently introduced me to, which is apparently better than duct tape. One thing that I want to mention I could certainly give all the tape to my dad and be done with it. He would happily take all the tape that I have. And that's one thing, jokes aside, that a lot of people, when they think about the donation piece of things, Warren, they think Goodwill or Salvation Army or whatever the equivalent is if you're not in the United States, whatever the big charity-based organization is where you can just drive off and drop that garbage bag or those boxes of things. Donations, it can be a loving gesture for friends and family to invite them over and say, here, take it. I would love for you to put this to good use or put it in a good place. So I know you've covered this and we're kind of giving the broad strokes right now, but when people think about donations, don't just think about charitable donations. Think about the people who you love and care about, friends and family, who would really dig having what you have and repurposing in that way.
When if you can think about who in your life is going through a transition, maybe you have friends so my age, you've got kids, they may have kids that are going off to college, or maybe they're going through a tough time and they're going through a divorce, or they just got newly married. All of these people may need things that you have, whether it be sheets or kitchen goods or whatever you might have, or you know people that are just that love t-shirts, and you have for some reason accumulated 342 t-shirts. This is a good chance for you to pass them on. And I think you're right. There are people in your life who don't necessarily need it, but will appreciate it. Your dad probably doesn't need more tape, but he will appreciate it.
He definitely doesn't.
That's great. Yeah. And he's good. And it's good because he can, and then in a week, we'll just do this again for a special program just for your dad. Yeah. So that first week, what I want you to do is a week from now, have completely cleared out. That's your goal for the week, is to completely clear out 1 drawer, nothing more. Don't make this more difficult. Don't try to tackle 2 drawers. Don't go crazy. Just 1 drawer in a week, and then stop and celebrate. Do your little happy dance, right? Do your little dance, because that's what's, oh, there we go. Look at this. See? All right. We're on YouTube now dancing. This is great. I knew I could get you to do this. It's a lot of work. As we think about this, because now what you've done is you've learned how you can do it. You've taken the smallest component in your home and you've removed the things from it. Now, after week 1, week 2 is about cleaning out the rest of the drawers in that dresser. Ideally, it's a dresser, maybe it's a closet, maybe it's your bathroom. Clean out the rest of the drawers in the next week. Again, give yourself a whole week to do it. Maybe it only takes an hour. Maybe it takes a whole week. Maybe you keep putting it off. Maybe you break it up and do 10 minutes a day. Whatever it is, find a way to make that happen. Because now at the end of that first 2 weeks, what you've done is you've completed the 3rd step in this action plan, is that you've started decluttering. And more importantly, I've introduced you to this concept that I want to talk about now as step number 4, which is sprints. Sprints are 2-week elements that allow you to package up work, and in this case, decluttering items, but you could apply it for anything, because 2 weeks is long enough to where you can accomplish a lot, but it's also very discrete. It's finite. 2 weeks is not a month. A month seems like too long. A week seems like it's not enough time to get things done. 2 weeks gives you time to where if things go wrong, your mother shows up and she decides she's going to stay for a week, because hopefully it's not 2 weeks, then you've got the time. You've got the time to do that. So this is 2-week sprints. Everything that we're doing now is to start to think about taking action in 2-week increments. So what you've done, this 2-week idea, is a burst of activity to reach your goals. I can tell you we've done this with thousands and thousands of people. Breaking down goals into these 2-week sections and thinking about it that way, you'll be more successful. I mean, hell, science has told us we will be successful. Science has said that if we break down these big goals into smaller chunks, I've just made 2-week sprints the new model by which you can accomplish big things. And I want you to do as many happy dances as possible. You with me, Joel? You excited?
Oh, I'm with you. We've got a great question from Antonella in here, which I'm saving for after you're done with the 5th step. Right. But we're on number 4 and we're doing great. Yep. We're talking about 2-week sprints.
Yes, absolutely. So now what we want to do, this gets a little bit into it, but when you see the package, when you see the workbook, you're going to see how we do this. What we've done is we've taken all of those rankings, all those room assessments, and we have identified how many sprints, an estimation of how many sprints it should take you to complete. All your 1s should take you 1 sprint. All your 2s should take you 2 sprints. 3 should take you 3 sprints. So that means that a 3 is going to take you 6 weeks to accomplish. Now, your 1 may be a 1-day project, or someone else's 1 may be 4 weeks. But the issue is that what we've learned over the time is that because your main job is not decluttering, we're accomplishing this within the concept of doing everything else in your life. You don't get to stop taking your kids to school. You don't get to stop spending time with with the things that you hate doing. You don't want to stop doing the things that you love. You want to fit decluttering into your life. So to do that, we've created this ranking system and this assessment of how much work it's going to take. So I give you a place now where each one you can determine how many weeks it's going to take. Remember, 1 sprint is 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that every one of these now has an assessment. Now, I went through that really fast, but the reason I did, I can go through that and I can slow down and present it again if anybody has questions about it. But at the end of this step, what you have is you have a full system, not just of what rooms I'm going to do. It now tells you how long it's going to take to do each room in your home. And you know how much time it's going to take you to complete your decluttering project. This is your rough estimate. This is step 1. This is like there. And we can go down and we can hone it as we start getting better at it, because what's going to happen is you're going to start getting really good at it. You're going to be able to walk into a room and declutter it within an hour. We're not there yet. We're still building these muscles. We're building the techniques. We're building the tools that you need in order to remove the clutter. So I want you to have this. But to me, and I know, Joel, you're an organized guy. I look up to you. I was praising and bowing before your organizational structure. This is something that I need in order to make myself move forward in a project like this, because otherwise it becomes too big and too daunting. I have to stop and assess it and determine how long it's going to take me. And then I can get my head around completing it. But this is why we wanted to start with the first sprint being something that you can accomplish in 2 weeks. 1 drawer, 1 dresser. 1 drawer, 1 dresser. 1 drawer, 1 dresser.
1 drawer, 1 dresser.
That's it. That is sprint 1. And you have now accomplished and moved forward further in your decluttering than you have in the entire time you've been thinking about it and wanting to declutter. You're on your path.
I'm doing the thing
now,
instead of just thinking about the thing. This feels good.
Which is what exactly right, which is the big whole goal, right? This is what we live for, Joel. This is why we exist, is to help take action, is to help others take the right action towards what they want to accomplish. And I know you and I, we sing from the same hymnal. We're definitely big believers in the whole idea of action. Speak so much louder than just thinking about the ideas, which is why step number 5 is take action. It is about going and scheduling your project. taking a moment to going through and figuring out not just the worksheet that I just talked about, but when are you going to start? When are you going to do your first sprint? I would like to challenge everyone to start your first sprint tomorrow. If you're watching this live, then Tuesday, start your sprint. And then it's 2 weeks, 1 week to get that first drawer and 2 weeks and another week to complete the entire dresser. Start that because it's going to give you momentum. But if you have a big vacation coming up, or maybe summer is just completely crazy because the kids are there and there's no help and you can't figure out how to do it and it's going to stress you out, start at September, right? Start after Labor Day. Find a time frame, though, when you're going to put it on the calendar to take action, because that is the only thing that is going to make a difference in your decluttering efforts. Filling out all the forms and doing all the plans is great, because this is what's going to help you to see how to get started, to overcome that number one obstacle that I talked about earlier. But without the date of when it's going to happen, it truly is just a goal and something that you want to do and not something that you're actually accomplishing. You're not making room for that new office. You're not removing the overwhelm that you feel. You're not taking action towards living in that tiny house. So at the end of this, you're going to have so many learning and knowledge at the end of that first sprint. You're going to start learning your rhythm. You're going to start discovering that you're faster than you really thought. You might even discover that you absolutely love decluttering. Absolutely love it. Like, it is like inside of you and you can't stop, but just do it. It's happy dance all day long. And you want to get to the next one. It becomes like I know you love video games, Joel. It's like leveling up constantly finding a secret, a trap door, some Easter egg that you didn't know about, leveling up to the next level on something you've been working on for the last 6 months. Whatever that is, it's the excitement that you get from that, but applying it to something in your life that is really important and making progress. As you go through this plan that we put in place, execute against it. As you learn, maybe you start combining 2 or 3 different rooms and you start working on them. You're working in them in a single sprint because you're moving so quickly. That's great, but don't let it stress you out. The goal of this plan is to create something that you can walk out with, that you can accomplish, and you can do it within a time frame that you feel comfortable without adding stress and overwhelm to your life, because that's not the goal. Decluttering should be a tremendous load off your shoulders. You can now move into that tiny house. You can now retire. You can now go and travel around the world. Focus on that without adding a bunch of extra stress to your life. That's what I wanted to leave you with today, is this idea of, if you go through the steps, assess the clutter, rank the rooms, build the momentum, schedule the sprints, and take action. And yeah, I went through that really fast, but I've got all this in your handout. It's all there for you, Joel, and everybody else. It's there. So go through these 5 steps and you are going to create a decluttering plan and make progress faster than anyone that is out there just talking about it. You are going to be able to actually do it and make your dreams come true. Yeah, that's right. I just said it. You're going to be able to make your dreams come true. That's what decluttering can do. That's why I get excited about it.
I feel like I should say something to the effect of, goal is a dream with a deadline right now. Is that appropriate?
Yes. That's perfect. That's it.
Totally unprompted.
Yeah, all right. It may be too big to say that. Yeah. You nailed it. You nailed it. I think we've got all the, if we could bring up a few more truisms or, self-help, get motivated, action posters like attitude, not altitude, or something like that, that'd be great.
I feel like I'm reading from your book, Dream, Save, Do, which I haven't actually read. So if I'm quoting moments from it, I guess it's just great minds think alike. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
All right, we're done with
the good news is that now, Joel, good news, I'm happy to tell you, it's now, we have an audio version of Dream, Save, Do, so you can now listen to it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're going to get to Antonella's question and another in a moment, but you were mentioning a second ago that people can download this workbook. So for people who registered for our training ahead of time, there was an email sequence that they got an hour beforehand. They got a workbook that they can work through, and we hope that you will really use that. For folks who are going to be watching the replay, they couldn't attend live, but they signed up via email for our training. They will also be getting this workbook. Now, Warren, that's not available to everybody, but a lot of the cool resources that you have, I would imagine that you pulled elements to put together this workbook specifically for our training from some other things that you have. And I want to make sure that people know, I mean, we've made reference to Dream, Save, Do, a book that that you wrote a while back, which is Amazon reviews are glowing We've talked about Declutter Clinic a little bit. And also, I just want to make sure that people know there's a relatively new thing, at least as far as mid 2016 goes, the Life Lab. Can you just give us a little bit of a hint about what the dealio is with this Life Lab thing that you and Betsy have going on?
Sure. Over the years, what we've found is that people don't want to declutter just because they want to declutter. People don't want to necessarily save money just to save money. They have bigger dreams. They feel like they're relatively happy in their lives, but something is missing. They want something more. Maybe you know it. Maybe you know you want to live in a tiny house and you're aiming towards that, or you don't know what it is. There's just something that's causing you to not quite be happy. And we've kind of over the years have been listening to that consistently. And we found that basically there are a few components that they're looking for. They're looking for guidance and resources that will help them, like this training, people, to be able to help them step through the processes. They're looking for someone to hold their hand. Ideally, it would be someone who can walk them through all the steps to achieve decluttering their home or saving for a big goal, or being able to help them identify what they love most in their life. But what they really need at the end of the day is a community. Maybe you don't know anybody. When we first started just deciding to travel the world, all of our friends and family thought we were crazy, right? They would either say you're absolutely insane and we can't understand it, or, wow, you're so brave. I didn't feel I was brave. I just felt like I was doing something that I needed to do before I left this planet. It felt like a natural step. But what I didn't have was someone I could talk to and say, hey, is this crazy? You've been down this path. What did you think about it? Or I could share my deepest fears with, or I could talk about the worries associated with leaving my career. We didn't have that. So community is so important, because what you want to do is to be surrounded every day by people who are also going after their plan A. Maybe it's not because there's something magical that happens when you change your mindset and you start going after it. Because there's something that just shifts in the mind that makes you no longer worry necessarily about the things that beat you down yesterday. So Life Lab was bringing those three components together and selling it and selling it as a package, because we used to sell these separate products, these courses. And we said, look, let's just stop worrying about that. Let's offer everything we've ever done and everything we will ever create into the future and offer it for a monthly fee. Plus, we're going to deliver that community. The community that people were asking for, we're going to deliver it online so that people can go there and talk and share their stories. You can meet Kim and talk to Kim about what it was like to have to declutter her father's house when he passed away, and how she went through it and how she succeeded and sold everything she owned in her own house and then went traveling in an RV. That all happened because of that first box that she packed up. You can hear her story. You can meet every person in there who is going after a dream, who has already achieved a dream. We also talked to people like you. We've talked to you and talked about the stories associated with simplicity and what does simple living mean? What does it mean to you, and how you can apply it into your life? And we got into some crazy conversations about meditation and about spirituality. And it's conversations like that we share with the community at Life Lab. So it is a place to be able to come and to connect with like-minded people, to learn what it means to live your Plan A life, and to take practical actions. There's action steps in there with workbooks and resource guides, just like I went through today, that you can go in there and get access to, so you can live the life that you want by removing what's not working, experimenting with what you do, and connecting with people to help you there. Whew,
right on.
That was long.
Yeah, well, no, it's good. There's a lot of context there, and that's what's after decluttering, or that's what's beyond decluttering, is having what you and Betsy call an uncluttered life, which incorporates every facet, every element of your life, from your relationships to the work that you do, to the freedom that you feel, and just the day-to-day, moment-to-moment. How do I feel about my life? What is my environment? What does this say about me, as in terms of where I'm going, what value I have to society and to myself? I know that you incorporate some elements of self-awareness and self-compassion in there too. It's far-reaching and pretty nifty. I do want to meet Kim, and who knows when I'll get to meet Kim. I also want to meet Antonella, who's been awesome during our training here. Let's take her question and some other folks. If you are watching this live and you have questions for us, this is the time to get one in. So going back to Antonella over here, she asked a little while ago, how can I use these principles? She's talking about everything that we've just discussed when in the process of moving to a smaller space.
Perfect time to do it. So one thing that you could do is you could use the exact same principles that we talked about today and do your ranking based upon what will fit into your new house. That's one way to do it. So you could actually say, okay, I have one fewer bedroom. So now I can actually do this so that I have to move down to that. So I have to figure out what's going to fit in that new bedroom, not what fits in the 2 bedrooms I currently have. So you can actually do that. And every time you're looking at it, is look at these in particular rooms in your home and look at the new house. Do not assess it based upon your current home and look at it from that perspective. So when you're thinking about it, but you're still having to do through the exact same process. Your goal is just slightly different because it can't fit in the current space that you have. So you need to be able to rank the house based upon, what it is now. Your goal is not based on can I find it. The goal is can it fit into the new room? So that's you're completely different. So you can change the ranking system. And again, it's a little hard. Joel and I thought it'd be better if you could see us because otherwise you just see a big screen. But on the ranking system, if you go through there, change it from can I find it quickly to will it fit into my new room? So for example, in the bathroom, right? If you have 2 bathrooms now and you need to get down to 1, now will it fit into my new bathroom? No, I've got way too much stuff. So that means my bathrooms are now maybe a priority 4. Maybe they're going to be a big project for me. So you need to be able to think about it from that perspective. The one thing that will be different about it is if you are actively moving to a smaller home, is your deadline is going to be set. You've already set it. So you need to be able to set your sprints up and in a much more accelerated fashion. Because what you don't want to do is to end up having to move a bunch of stuff that you're not going to keep. Now, I can go on for moving. I actually could talk about moving for an hour and a half, I think, by itself. But I hope that helps. And if you have questions, just send me an email. I'm at warren@anunclutteredlife.com. And I'm happy to talk about moving and decluttering and plans, all of this stuff. I'm really excited about it.
Warren, I've got one that's related to that in terms of, so we have Antonella who's moving to a smaller place and she will physically not have as much room for clutter. Correct. That's good. Assuming that Antonella, I'm going to be kind and I'm going to assume that you're not going to put the excess stuff in storage. You're probably just going to do one of Warren's 3 steps in terms of making sure that it goes and stays gone. But on that note, Warren, about goes and stays gone, I've seen this in just talking to a lot of people about it. They declutter, they feel really good. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, they realize, oh, crap, what's all this crap here? Like, how did this stuff just start seeping back into my life? And now I got to do this all over again. This could be a whole huge conversation itself, but do you have 1 or 2 go-to tactics where people can do something that helps them prevent a lot of that clutter from creeping back into their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually the rule that we live by, and we do have a whole thing, a whole component inside of our Declutter Clinic course within Life Lab that is all about this. It's all about setting up your maintenance and systems to make sure you never get decluttered again. But the easiest one is the rule that we created for ourselves, which is 1 thing in, 1 thing out. If I buy a new T-shirt, which is very rare, but if I did buy a new T-shirt, 1 T-shirt needs to leave. If I bring in a new kitchen gadget, a kitchen gadget needs to leave. If I bring in a new pot, a pot needs to leave. I mean, it literally, something I can no longer add to my home the number of things that I have. And so that is the rule. And sometimes you bring in something that you need, which is a big word. I mean, once you've lived out of a backpack, you realize what you really need. It's not very much. So but it's keeping me constantly thinking about, making sure I don't get cluttered. And I'm always aware of it. So when we're standing at the store, I'm standing there asking myself, what am I going to get rid of when I bring this into the house? And that makes sure that you never get cluttered and because you don't have a way to do it. You're managing your clutter at that point. I think that is probably one of the best things that anyone can implement day 1. Because most of us, at least when I was living in Seattle and had the house and it was filled with stuff before we began decluttering, I had everything I really needed. I didn't need to be adding a lemonade dispenser to my home. It was not important. But for some reason, that stupid catalog came in the mail and, that was it. So, but once we had the rule and we started thinking about it, it's making it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, what's making it easier for us to do this training too, Samir, I'm looking in the comments. Donna was asking where to get the Hangouts that you mentioned, and Samir offered her a link, which is really cool. Thanks, everyone,
Nice.
for helping me and Warren out, for helping each other.
This is great.
Because we're here to help you, but you're also here to help each other. That community aspect, that one-to-one, making sure that you're not the weirdo. There are other people, millions, tens of millions of people all around the world who have the same concerns and the same goals that you do. And the more that you can connect to them, the more that you can realize this is normal, this is healthy, this is good, the better off that you're going to be, not just in terms of motivation, but long-term. How do you find the support? How do you find the systems to make sure that you can preserve your gains in the long term? Warren, we have one more thing. I know we're going just slightly over time here, but this is pretty good. So Samir actually has a question for us, and he's asking about electronic clutter, number of email accounts, files, and photos.
Yeah.
Do you even want to go there?
I think that this is a fantastic subject, and it's one that obviously I think we both can admit to some level of excitement by. But the idea of email clutter is one thing. I have a very simple rule when I get into an overwhelm with clutter of my email that I can apply, that I recommend to everybody. And it is going to be crazy, but I guarantee you it works, and it's worked on everybody I've worked with. Take all your email and move it to an archive folder today. All of it. Every single email that you have in your inbox, and move it to your archive folder. Right? And start over. But start over with a system. And there are a variety of systems that you can use, but one of the easiest ones is to reply to emails within 24 hours or delete them. If you implement systems like that from scratch, you will be able to move forward. The problem we all face is that we try to manage the email clutter at the same time we're trying to implement a new system. And 9 times out of 10, this fails. By removing it to archive, what you've done is that you've taken it out of your field of vision. You also recognize something that I learned years ago in the corporate environment, is that if it was really important, it would show back up in your inbox. Whoever it is that needs something is going to email you. If it's not, yes, it might be, important to someone else, but it's not going to break the bank as much as the amount of stress and angst that email clutter creates for our lives. It shouldn't be something that we wake up thinking about. This is the way that you can start afresh and create a system that is right. Now, that's a longer conversation. Now, as far as files and photos, I think photos are a nightmare because there's so many of them, and it depends on how you want to manage them. I use a system called Lightroom. Maybe you use something like Aperture to manage your photos. I think that's a great system because it's a much better way to catalog. I have maybe 100,000 photos, so I need a way to categorize them. So I just dump them in big folders, but I don't use all the tagging and everything else. Determine what you need in that level, but don't just file things for file's sake. I was listening to something last week, and it was from a computer scientist, and he was talking about that ultimately the organization system that works the best, whether it be for photos or anything else, is to leave it in a random set, but to create collections. So that's the best way to start with, whether it be files or folders, is to create collections. We think about files if we thought about it from a traditional computer perspective or a filing cabinet. Folders could be the same way. Just collect them together, birthday, 2016, boom, put it there. And do each of these in collections first. That is going to make you feel better. And if you want to go in and rename every single one, ask yourself the question, why? What will you gain? And I will raise my hand and say that I was guilty of this for years. I tried to name every single file. Once I got to about 20,000, I asked myself, what in the world am I doing? I'm only going to go back and look at any of these folders, any of these pictures, and I'm just looking at them. When I export it out or want to send it to someone, I'll name it then. But until now and then, there's no reason to do that. That's my feeling on it. And I feel like it's about managing my stress versus the benefit of naming everything. I don't know if that helps. It was Samir, right?
It was Samir. Well, it certainly helps me. And I know part of the start of your answer was, it seems like you and Betsy covered this in a podcast episode of An Uncluttered Life.
We do. We have an email podcast on this particular subject.
Yeah. And that was a really good one. By the way, if people are watching this on replay or live because they like me or they listen to my Smart and Simple Matters podcast, Warren and Betsy's podcast has been one of my absolute favorites since I first learned about it about 2.5 years ago. It's hilarious. It's insanely practical. So if you do nothing else and you want to spend a good 20, 30 minutes every week getting audio dose of good stuff, check that out. That's just that's just a little public service announcement, because man, you and Betsy are up to some amazing things, and I want to see people go deeper into your world. But for now, I would better call it a wrap. So hopefully people were digging the fact that maybe they're not. We were talking about at the start why decluttering frustrates the bejesus out of us. I bet people are not as frustrated more, and they've got a little plan to jumpstart their decluttering. Small steps over big leaps. That's what you preach, Warren, and I'm all aboard that too. We also covered a little bit about what uncluttering is, going beyond physical clutter and the freedom, that sense of lightness that you get. And for those of you, if you want, watch the replay. Those 5 steps that Warren went through to fully and finally declutter your home, that was really great. Thank you, everyone. We'll be emailing you the link to the replay on YouTube in the next 24 hours if you're watching this live, so you don't have to go hunting for it yourself. We really don't want this to be the end of our conversation, though. Whether it's with me or Warren or with each other, keep the chatter going with us, your fellow participants, in the comments on the Google event page. Whether you want to connect with us via email or Twitter, Warren and I are very available and always super eager to chat with folks who want to declutter, who want to simplify, who want to lead a more intentional life. And at this point, Warren, I just want to say, you took a good chunk out of your day and also a lot of prep to put this on for us. And I'm super duper happy and thankful to you. So, man, can you tell us beyond that just a little bit more so that people are really clear, where can they go deeper down the Warren and Betsy rabbit hole?
Sure, absolutely. You guys can find everything you ever wanted to know about us, how we made our journey and leap, plus also how you can make yours at anunclutteredlife.com. And if you go there, and if you're interested in the Life Lab, I would love to see you there, invite you into the community to be a part of it, because there's a lot as you start to create the life that you want, being surrounded by those people and provide you with more resources. You can find it if you go there, click on the upper right-hand side, click on members, and you can dive in and get started. We would love to have you there. I do want to challenge one thing with you, Joel. I'd like to end this conversation today with going out with a happy dance. So while we go out, let's close it out with happy dances. All right.
All right, everybody. And people, we want them to be doing their happy dance. You don't have to be standing. You can do it sitting or laying down as well. You ready? Talk, Warren, so that people can see your happy dance.
This is my happy dance. Look at it go. Woo!
Hot diggity. All right. We will let people leave with that wonderful image. Whoa, here we go. Oh, no.